could this new update really hurt class change or even stop you from doing it altogether? We're going to talk about all that and so much more with Echo Gaming right now. Let's get straight to it. I am back with Echo Gaming. Echo, thank you so much for joining the channel, man. I love doing these collabs with you. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to pick up the conversation and talk about Eternal Gear here with you today.
There you go. So we just got doing a collab on Echo's channel. So after you watch this one, if you haven't already seen it, jump back over to his channel. A link in the description and in the pinned comment for the video we just did on his channel. But this one, we might have some hot takes, Echo. We could spice things up a little bit today. I'm concerned that class change might be directly impacted in potentially a negative way by Eternal Gear. So at least at face value, we know that Eternal Gear will be the best gear available to us, and it will be very hard to obtain. And it's the magic attributes are two specific classes. And at least as of the time of this recording, we have not received clarification if they will change with you. So what do you think about all this? How do you think it's going to impact class change, if at all?
Well, gear as it is right now, when you class change, you get equivalent gear of the class that you're changing to.
Mhm.
But the
Yep.
attributes aren't class specific. As we're seeing right here, the magic
True.
attributes are class specific.
Yep.
If this eternal equipment will swap to the class that you're swapping to the way that it does now, and the magic
Mhm.
attributes will swap in some fashion too, I think we're going to be just fine as far as class changing goes, and there's going to be no impact. But if these magic attributes are specific and stay specific to a certain class, then let's say you spend a couple of months decking out
Right.
your whatever class. What class are you playing right now?
Oh God, what am I playing? Demon Hunter.
Okay, so you're
I don't
playing
even know anymore.
you switch so much. You're playing your Demon Hunter. It's taken you months. You decked it out, and it's looking like a fine piece of art. You want to switch to another class, but none of that goes with you. You have to regrind all of that stuff. I guess you could take that gear and store it in your chest if you want to, and then put it
True.
back on. But it's going to require a lot of grind. It reminds me of when I'm playing as a necromancer and I
Mhm.
use follower's burden, and I forget
Ah.
the other gem. You have two
Yep.
legendary gems. One's a 1-star easy to grind. The other is a
Mhm.
2-star harder to do.
Yep.
They're only really good for necro. So
Good point.
if you switch classes, you have to kind of like store it in case you ever want to be a necro again, so you don't have to
True.
do it all over
All
again.
over again. Yeah.
But here, my hot take is, what if when we're doing these terror rifts and when we're finding this gear, what if
Mhm.
the gear that drops is not class specific? What if you get gear that's you're
For
playing
any
as your
class.
yeah, right. So you're
Yeah.
accumulating gear for a class you don't even have. So you could build up.
Right.
Did you have the same idea as I did, man?
I wasn't gonna say that, but no, I to me, there's sort of two different options here. I think to the one that you just said to lean into that, where the gear is just totally random, and that could happen. But then, like, how pissed would you be if, to your point, you just spend months grinding this eternal gear, which they've been very vocal on in the video so far and in the patch notes that it will be hard to get,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just never get it for your class. So, but that could happen, right? It's intended to be an end game grind. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's sort of option one. I tend to agree with your hot take. But the other option, if it doesn't, and if it does drop to the specific class, and then within that option doesn't change when you class change, and the reason I don't think it will change when you class change is that with each of these has, I think they said 7 to 8 different magic attributes per class. So it would totally randomly change. And then some of them, because there's an O of 4 on that first one for Exploding Palm, which kind of alludes to like maybe it's a stacking buff if you have 4 of a certain kind. So if that's the case, like if you have 4 for the monk and you transfer classes, you're probably not going to get the same ones if it's truly RNG.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, I think that's where in that very, very specific situation, without any clarification, I think that's where it could hurt class change. But then, so my hot take then is if that is the case, hypothetically, and we kind of lean into this idea, they said this is truly meant to be in-game content. It's supposed
Mm-hmm.
to be content that is for the people that are grinders, the people that really want to push their account and even min-max it. So then it's like, well, maybe this content is good for people who don't want to class change. There is a lot of people who don't class change because they love, I mean, our good friend Red, right? He's been a monk forever.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of people that are barbarians forever. My own warband leader, she's been a monk forever. You know, there's a lot of people that will never class change. And I think this does reward those people who maybe, need more motivation to stay on their class. So I could see it being a positive in almost any outcome. but I do think it's going to be a heck of a thing to balance, and that's where it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's a reward for people who are true to their loved class, right? To those barbarian
Right.
lovers that are just going to be barb no matter what, or to like a Red October who's monk till he dies. He's not going to
Monk
try.
till he dies,
But
man.
but what that hurts though is when
Hmm.
they bring new classes to the game. Like we have a new
Yep.
class dropping, and if you have this eternal gear, now again, you can just take it and throw it in your stash, try out
Right.
a new
Totally.
class, and then go
Yep.
back to it in a week or whatever you want. So there is that. But
Mhm.
to actually be able to, if it doesn't swap, to
Yeah.
actually be able to change classes and be a force in PvP, say, for example,
Right.
that's going to be something that's difficult. Which, when you think of balance changes, like right now, the Demon Hunter is probably the best in
Yeah.
PvP, maybe followed by the Crusader. But these things go up and down. Like the
Right.
Barbarian is again going to have his day one day, and
Oh yeah. 100%.
if you have gear that really locks you into a class because the
Hmm.
grind is too big to switch, I mean, obviously you're going to have your players, those true grinders that's put in so much time that'll
Yeah.
switch and they'll grind it out and they'll do it. And
Oh yeah.
we're hearing that this is, like you said, end game content for those players that are really grinders, which
Yeah.
means I don't think Blizzard wants everyone to be able to, in a month, deck out their class to a min max perfection. I think this is something that
Right.
could take a long time. The type of
Agreed.
thing like you're sitting on your couch and playing, and it's 6 months later, you finally get that piece of gear, and you like jump out of your chair in excitement, and your wife looks at you like, what the hell is you doing?
You
Like
throw
that.
your phone, like you break your phone. You're like, well, great. Now I can't play the game anymore.
Nah, you just play on PC. It looks better anyways. But yeah,
There you go.
so I don't think that these, just my personal thought, I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think the magic attributes are going to switch. I think it is going to
Hmm.
stay specific. I
Yep.
also, I don't know if when we're grinding inside of these terror rifts, oblivion pillars, or hellslayer bounties, if it's
Hmm.
just going to be class specific items that drop. Think
Right.
about the charms. I know I brought it up in our last
Oh
discussion,
yeah.
but the charms, I you always get the wrong ones over and
Always.
over, and
Yep.
it's frustrating. But there's no reason that this couldn't be a very similar drop type mechanic as that.
Very
um
true. So then there's another question then is when we go to a higher Inferno difficulty, are they only good for that Inferno difficulty? Or is this a type of investment because it takes so long, to your point, like if it does truly take months to get a full set, is it good through a few Inferno difficulties? Like, is it that much stronger? That was the other question I had. Like, how much stronger is stronger? They use the word strongest. So that's where I'm like, I mean, are we truly just going to refarm this in a month and a half when we go to the next Inferno difficulty? Or is this something that is truly best in slot for months at a time?
hmm.
Yeah,
I
a
wonder
lot
if
of,
it's
lot of,
gonna,
lot of unknowns.
I mean, they did say when we were talking about in the announcement trailer
Mhm.
with the whole timetable, that there's
Yep.
going to be a whole revamp to how gearing is worked, right? Or how gear
Right.
works. Maybe that
Right.
has something to do with this question that you're bringing up right now. Like, how is
Ooh.
that going to work, right?
Yeah, maybe there's because it's a higher tier of gear, maybe you can upgrade it. Maybe even add a gem slot. Oh god, we can't start that rumor already.
Well, I am looking right here, and whatever this piece of gear only has one gem slot in it right now.
Oh, there you
Just so
go.
that's noted.
Put the
But
rumors down.
it doesn't mean, I mean, yeah, it doesn't mean that that couldn't happen. I don't think it will. That's a huge. I mean, like
Mm,
right now, if it's $200,000 to max your account, that
right.
like makes it double.
Yep.
Which
Yep.
is, or maybe not because of the secondary gems, but a big enhancement, or more that you have to spend. But I don't think that these are going to be able to change. So I think you are
Mhm.
going to have more reason to stick with your class.
Yep.
I do think, I'm getting the hunch that you're going to get random drops, and I'm going to get a whole bunch of stuff, probably for Monk, the class that I will
I was
probably
gonna
never
say,
play. Yeah. Now, and they're not going to
oh,
be
that's
able to be
terrible.
traded, sold, or anything like that. And
Mm,
what is this? I'm reading this. Exploding palm damage dealt to enemies with the bleed status has a 5% chance to cause an explosion without removing the status, stacking 4 times. What is 0/4 for?
I don't know. See, I saw that and I was like, is so because there's 4 to 8 different magic properties, maybe there's a chance you get 2 of these. So there's 2 exploding palms within different sets of gear. So like there's 4 per headpiece. Like this headpiece has 4 slots. So maybe there's a 4 set bonus. for that specific exploding palm if you find it on the head, the shoulders, and the feet, and like something else.
Mm.
And then maybe it does a higher amount of damage or lowers the cooldown or something. Which again, if that's like if that's how integrated it is, like again, that's some serious farming.
I mean, I like that. I like farming for
Oh yeah,
gear.
totally.
When I'm farming now, I'm getting, I don't know, 20, 25 pieces of legendary gear a day. And I
Right.
rarely get something for, with green arrows up, or at least
Yeah.
with 3 green arrows up where it's worth it.
Hmm.
Um, so having the ability to know that like those pieces are out there, it kind of gives you a reason. It's like fishing, right? Not fishing in game,
Yeah.
but fishing in life. Like something's in the pond, that big fish is there, and at least it's your motivation to sit out there all day and go fishing. So this is some of those
True.
big fish, I think.
I
Um,
like that actually. I like that a lot. That reminds me a lot of my wife and I used to play World of Warcraft together, and we would always do the same raids over and over again. And then when you did get a piece of gear that was so much like it was truly best in slot, like BIS, best in slot was a term used in that game all the time.
mhm.
Very rarely used in Diablo Immortal, if ever. So to that point, to your point, 100%, like this is the opportunity of getting a best in slot gear where you actually have excitement when you see it drop. Um, but yeah, then like how does it impact balance then? Like, oh,
It's
I
gonna
don't
be
know.
weird.
There's so many things. Yeah.
It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird in PvP. How is this gear gonna
Mm,
come into play in PvP? Will it
right.
be nerfed down? Like legendary gems and some of the attributes there,
Right.
like get the decrease. I don't know. I mean, that's stuff that we're gonna have to see. Blizzard
Yeah.
is notorious for giving us just enough information to know what's coming and get excited, but not give us all of the full details to really fully understand, which is
Totally.
which is fun, so that we can kind of talk
Yep.
about it and have these discussions. But we really are gonna know once we, not even once we get it, but once we try it and test
Mhm.
it and understand it. But it's exciting. I'm happy that there's bigger gear coming. I hope we don't have to farm it at every Inferno difficulty, because
Oh,
unless
it's gonna be rough.
if it's easier to farm than we're expecting, they're
Right.
making
True.
it seem like it's going to be so hard. But if it's really not that hard, like for
Yeah.
someone
True.
that plays and farms for 3 hours a day and is doing this for 3 hours a day, if you can get it in a month, be all decked out, then fine. But if it takes
Oh yeah.
6 months and then I have to re-get it again, I'm just going to always be farming for this stuff, and that's just nuts.
Totally. I think to your point, this leads a lot of questions very unopened. Please let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm going to leave you guys on another cliffhanger, another sort of open-ended question. So, does this gear, if it only drops from this new stuff coming to the game, does that mean these new things are always going to be in the game? Or because like after Diablo comes at the end of the year, are those all these still mechanics still going to be around? Will Eternal Gear go away? There's so many different things that could impact even just a year span. So I don't know. Echo, it's been an absolute pleasure doing this video with you. Again, shout out to Echo Gaming. His link will be in the description of this video. And we did do a collab covering the whole beginning of end of 2024 and the whole roadmap on his channel. So make sure you go take a look at that. Thanks again, Echo. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, guys. See you in a video soon.